It is finally Friday, thank goodness. It has been quite the week, as many of you know. Started out this week with a lovely bout of stomach virus that took me out probably started Saturday night, but I wasn't really back to myself until about Tuesday morning. And so now we're sort of waiting with bated breath to make sure that no one else in the family caught it. It was a bit unusual that it struck me before it struck anyone else, but you know, who knows with these things? Because I work with children, I could have picked it up from one of my students. I could have picked it up at the grocery store, for heaven's sakes. So who knows? Anyways, I am very grateful to be feeling better and back to the usual routine of stitching and chatting with you. So yes, thank heavens for Friday. As you can see, this is not my tapestry that I'm working on today. I was planning on doing a few weeks in a row of my tapestry design, but I received so many great comments last week on various things like, you know, the laying tool and some ideas about, I believe it was Pamela on the Facebook group shared a picture of something called a needle trolley that she wears on her finger. And I believe also that Sylvia chimed in that she also uses one. And if I've gotten your names wrong, I apologize. But this needle trolley is something that you wear on your finger. Now, if I've got it correct here, I think you wear Pamela was wearing it on her left hand, and it would seem to me that it would be something that you could use as a two-handed stitcher, because you wear it on your finger and it has a long not curved, but a long sort of, the end of the laying tool is attached to this ring that you wear on your finger. And then the tip of the laying tool sort of comes off this, what's called this needle trolley, and it's this sort of point, right? And so I guess you would angle your finger down, and then as you use the other hand to pull the thread through, it would work as the laying tool as you were working. So I think I would like to try and find one of these needle trolleys. I think it looks like something I could learn how to use quite easily. I had some wonderful comments on suggesting that the fabric be more taut, which I completely agree with. I sort of did a bit of a rush job last week, you know, trying to hurry to get the Friday video up, and I didn't take enough time to, you know, I should have tightened the fabric a little bit more, and normally I do. I was a little bit lazy last week, so the fabric should be a bit tighter. And I had another suggestion using shorter lengths of wool, which I also agree with, because the less that wool travels through the fabric, the less wear it gets, and it just looks better. So working in shorter lengths. And the other suggestion was, a few people suggested either stitching on the diagonal or using the basket weave stitch to ensure that the fabric doesn't warp. It helps with tension. It helps provide a nice even tension throughout the stitching. Now, I think those are terrific suggestions, and I agree with all of them. Personally, for me and for this design, and knowing my tension, and the fact that I'm stitching on a frame, and I am going to have the tension of my fabric more taut when I'm working with it, I do not pull overly hard, and the fabric is going to be taut. So I'm okay with continuing to stitch back and forth. I am aware that it does cause you to have slight, you know, not lines, but you can, if you look closely, you can see that the stitching has gone back and forth. But my feeling is when you step back 3 feet, I can't tell. And I don't think my family is ever going to be able to tell. And to me, that's where I make my decision point. You know, is this going to matter to the people who I want it to matter to? And the answer to that question for these tapestries is no, because a little quirk about me, I have the tapestry that I did that's already hanging out on the wall. I have to go back and forth. I have to do my lines back and forth. I'm careful not to pull too tight. I have seen canvases that have been worked in the past that the tension has been too tight and the fabric has warped. So I am conscious of not pulling too tightly. My personality is that I like those neat, tidy lines that go back and forth. I have a real problem with basket weave or stitching on the diagonal, because when you're dealing with a canvas that has, you have to do a certain color, and that color isn't a square. That color is a leaf where, there's 3 stitches here, then 4 stitches, and then 2 stitches. For me, I become paralyzed with where should I put the next stitch? Where should it go? Because if I'm doing basket weave, I'm supposed to come here and then here and then here and then here. But when it's not a square, it leaves too much up to chance. And that makes my personality uncomfortable. When I can see a straight line, 2 stitches, and then go up the row and do 3 stitches, and then go up the row and do 4 stitches, it sort of makes me breathe a sigh of relief, and it takes a bit of the guesswork out for me. And so I know that seems really kind of funny, but it just suits my personality. So I am going to continue to go back and forth in lines, but I thought it was important to share the advice of people who really do know what they're doing, to share that with you. So I should be doing a basket weave stitch or stitching on a diagonal, but I am purposefully choosing not to. But I am going to try and mitigate the effects of what I'm doing with a slightly looser tension and slightly shorter lengths of wool and a more taut fabric on my frame. So the reason I chose not to work on it today was because I wanted a little bit more time to digest all of the comments and the information that I got before carrying on. And then I got sick, and I sort of ran out of time to sort of put that thought process into it and look into the needle trolley and that kind of thing. So I decided to work on something different today, and I thought for a treat for myself, I would have a visit with an old friend. This is a piece that I shared with everybody on a regular floss tube episode at least 3 or 4 months ago. It has been a while since I brought this back, and I think I'm completely mucking this up. 2, 3, 4. See, this one's different. Stand by. I'm going to check the pattern. When all else fails, check the pattern. Let's see here. Now, so this is, let me check my pattern and then I'll tell you more about it in just a second. No, I'm right. That is correct. Okay. So this is a pattern by Sampler Cove called Amtrak, and this is a piece that I started a few years ago now and have worked on it on and off here and there. I am stitching it 1/1 on a 25 count. I believe this is a Lugana 25 count. And the thread that I'm using is again, my good old standby, my favorite from my stash pile. This is hand-dyed fibers, Vicki Clayton, silk thread. And I really have no idea what the original colors, the colors for the original design are similar, but I don't remember what the called for threads were. I think they were Gloriana silks, if my memory serves, but I've actually lost that particular page of the pattern. I mean, I'm sure I have it somewhere, but I didn't keep it with the pattern. So here's my other confession with this piece. A few years ago, I had it on the counter where I was, not counter, but you know, the table, and I was getting ready to stitch, and I'd brought my glass of wine in, and you can see where this is going. Now, you know, Stitch M has her smoothie story. Well, I have a red wine story. As you can see from the piece in front of you, it has a happy ending. And in fact, the red wine never touched the project. But this, and I'm going to show you the back of the pattern. This is a learning lesson for me. Never, ever, ever again to have red wine anywhere near my stitching, because it was a complete stroke of luck that my stitching wasn't completely ruined from that glass of red wine. It wasn't a small glass of red wine, it was a big one, and it went everywhere, and it was all over the pattern. I literally just I gasped and in horror, and it was a bit of a few panicky moments. So anyways, as you can see, the project was just fine. And this is another one of those special friends in my stash that I almost never want to end, because I love everything about it. Each stitch is tiny and perfect, and the colors, there's only 3 colors. There's the blue, so let me tell you about the colors. This blue is called Steelies, and it was from the 8.7 yard spools that Vicki sold. And the gray was called Night Smoke. There. And then the red, she had the best name for this. And this was still, I purchased this on her original sort of card stock holders that she had. And this is OMG Red. So 5 yards. OMG Red. And there was a color name, and then there would have been 3 shades of that color family, and the number was used to differentiate between the shades. You know, there's a very good reason why the name of my channel is, or the name of the episodes are From the Stash Pile, and that is because, you know, I have a fair bit of stash that from projects, because I like big projects and I like to start new things. So the reason why a lot of my older projects have a lot of Vicki Clayton threads, which are no longer available, is because back then when I kitted these up, her silk was incredibly affordable. I mean, it was the best price silk around. And in fact, it was comparable to buying overdyed cotton. Really, it was only slightly more expensive than spending the money on buying Crescent Colorworks, or Classic Colorworks, or Weeks Dye Works, things like that for a skein. I mean, you would get a little, no, not even less yardage. It's 5 yards of silk for, you know, maybe 50 cents more, maybe 25, 50 cents more a skein than it was buying overdyed cotton. And so, you know, doing a design like this, it made it affordable to splurge on using a silk thread. And so that's why it's nice to see companies like Silks for You selling, and you know, Dinky Dyes, a little more expensive, but it is nice to have that selection. anyways, but it is a good reason. It's a reason why you will constantly hear me talking about Vicky Clayton threads and, bemoaning the fact that she no longer sells them, because I feel badly that I'm sharing all of these wonderful colors and silks and they're no longer available. However, be that as it may, there are so many other really beautiful options out there that are still more than available for us to purchase. So I'm just trying to figure out where to go now so that I can use up the rest of my blue silk here. I think I'll probably try to fill in this little guy right there. So let's start that up in here. There we go. All right. I hope you've all had a great week and are feeling healthy moving into our weekend ahead. Today has been an absolutely glorious day weather-wise outside. When I drove home, we recorded the Fiber Friends episode this morning with my friends, and on our way home, the thermometer on the car read 7 degrees Celsius, which doesn't seem all that warm, but for a Canadian coming out of winter, that is just the most beautiful, beautiful spring day. The sun is shining. The robins are hopping around outside in the lawn. I know that I'm, the biggest fan of winter out there that there is, but is there anything better than a beautiful spring day other than a fresh snowfall? It's pretty nice. You notice that people around you, everybody is a little bit happier. Drivers are a little more courteous. People are letting you in, being a little more patient. Just everybody generally, moods are improved. So if I have to give up winter, if I have to give up the cold, then I think that's a pretty nice way to step into spring. I said to someone the other day, I said, you wait, you should enjoy this last little bit of snow, because in 2 months, not even in a month, we're all going to be complaining about how hot it is. And she looked at me and she said, no, I promise I won't complain about how hot it is, not even for 1 minute. So I think I believe her. We have a lot of Canadians who are very sick of the winter around here. However, today is a pretty nice day. My dog has been happy outside. She's found a couple of good mud pits as the snow has melted and left behind. Ooh, what am I doing? No, that's not right. Shoot. Let's go backwards. She goes outside and she finds, it's not a mud pit. It's more like a dirty patch of grass where it's a little bit mucky, and she immediately sort of starts to roll in it. She thinks it feels pretty good. Must smell pretty good too. All of the rabbits are out. Well, the bunnies have been out all winter, but she likes to smell where they've been. It's almost birthday season around here. We celebrate 3 birthdays in the next 2 weeks. My son turns 10 at the end of April. My daughter turns 17 at the beginning of May, and my mom has a birthday in May as well. So my mom is the 8th, Sarah is the 10th, and Nicholas is the 29th of April. So we have a very, very excited birthday boy in the house. And every morning when he wakes up, he tells me how many more days until his birthday and exactly what he wants for his birthday. From the menu, he wants ice cream for breakfast, and he's changed his mind. He originally wanted hot dogs for dinner, but then he changed his mind, and what was it that he wanted? I can't remember. It was something else similar along the lines of hot dogs. It was probably Kraft dinner for his birthday dinner. And he's super, super excited. Birthdays are always so fun. I've never, ever grown out of thinking that my birthday is just the greatest day ever. And I don't mind getting older. I don't mind my age. I don't mind having birthdays. I like to be spoiled on my birthday. John usually obliges. And I like to spend my day however I like. So, but my birthday's not for a little while. So for now, we get to celebrate everybody else's birthday. So I'm trying out a new needle today. And I thought I would use it for a little bit before I talked about it. See what I thought about it before I shared it with you. And I think I quite like it. So I purchased, Kathy at Thread and I last month told me about these new needles. Maybe not new needles, but she said I think she was going to bring some in. They're Perman of Copenhagen needles. So this is number 28. And I bought, I think it comes in as, how many are in here? 25. Yeah, there's 25 needles in here. And I really like it. I really, really like it. I think the eye is nice and smooth. You know, it's a nice small needle. It's not, I don't like petites. So it's got a nice size. Yeah, it feels nice. I like it. It's always nice to try something a little bit new. You never know what's going to be the thing that you like that's new and improved. Such tiny, tiny stitches that just are so perfect and pretty. Now, wait a sec, what am I doing here? Oop, I skipped one. Go backwards. There we go. So on Monday's episode, I will show the whole piece. And I will take a little bit of video when I'm done today of how the piece looks that you can't see in the screen right now, so that you can see the rest of what I have accomplished. And then on Monday, I will show you the rest. Today, because today is Friday and tonight we have our Friday night stitch in. 6 hours or however much time you can devote to yourself and your hobby. And we all share pictures on Facebook. And I think that I might spend a good chunk of that time on this piece tonight, because, you know, it has been a while since I pulled it out, but it's one of my bigger projects that I have a fair bit done. And it would really be nice for me to see a finish this year on one of my larger pieces. Since, with high tea and everything, there have been a fair number of new, really big pieces that have been started that are going to take. Oh, I just lost my thread there. Hang on. To rethread this. I would like to see a finish on this at some point. So perhaps a dedicated portion of time spent on this over this weekend would be good. I'm still absolutely in love with the modern folk embroidery piece. I am not quite ready to take that off my lap frame yet. I'm just loving that blue color, and Jacob's design is just so nice. There we go. One more little bit done. Feels nice to finish just a little small little motif, and you think, there, did it. Onwards. All right, let's sew that end in. There we go. And I think with that, I am going to have to say goodbye. I've got a bit of piano teaching to do today after school, which is unusual for me for a Friday. I don't normally teach on Friday, but May and June, April, May, and June are very busy months for private music teachers. We have children who compete in the Kiwanis Festival, which is a music festival. At least it is here in Canada. The Kiwanis Music Festival is a very important music festival in our towns and cities. The Kiwanis program is fabulous, and kids have the opportunity to compete in both non-competitive and competitive classes. Adjudication is kind. The judges are it's constructive criticism. It's a very safe venue for the kids to have for performance avenues. And so I have a couple of kids performing in Kiwanis Festival this year, and then exams, conservatory exams. We have theory exams, we have practical exams. I've got kids doing flute and piano exams as well as theory exams. And so this time of year is very, very busy. We're also planning our year-end recital. So with recitals and Kiwanis and exams and extra lessons being made up or extra lessons being added for, a little bit of brush up right before things need to happen, it's a busy time of year. So that's why I'm teaching today on a Friday. I have a student who's competing tomorrow on piano, and so she's coming for her weekly lesson. We put it off this week today so that we could have a bit of a brush up right before and review. And I always like to, a couple of days before any sort of performance, we are not working on learning anything. We are working on having that confidence boost and making sure that, whatever happens, they know that whatever happens, I am just incredibly proud of them, and just confidence, confidence, confidence. That sounds amazing. That sounds great. Don't forget to smile. Don't forget to bow. Don't forget, don't forget to brush your teeth. Those kinds of silly little things. And then after I'm done teaching, it's time for Friday night. And John is away this weekend, so I have the kids here, and we are going to watch a movie, maybe pop some popcorn for Nicholas, watch a movie, and I am going to stitch until the wee hours of the night. So I can't wait to I can't wait to share that with you guys on Facebook and show you my progress on Monday. Have a great weekend. Happy stitching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.